Hey everyone, I wanted to go over some new and exciting news that we got for Hunter Rise Sunbreak that's set to release on both the Nintendo Switch and on PC via Steam at some point next summer. Let's remember that Sunbreak is pretty much Capcom's biggest expansion to Monster Hunter Rise, pretty much elevating the game from the base experience that you're already playing to something a little bit akin to Iceborne or something that we've seen in previous games. But definitely they seem to be tailoring it for a much bigger splash than previous expansion releases, let's put it that way. And interestingly enough, the official Japanese and then the official Monster Hunter Rise North American Twitter account went ahead and revealed just last week. This was something that I didn't necessarily feel like making a separate video on, only because there wasn't really much to say. They revealed that the game's directors, Yoshitake Suzuki, basically the director that's taken over director Ichinose from the base game of Monster Hunter Rise, will now be taken to Twitter on both the Japanese and North American Twitter accounts, presumably through a translation, and providing us details as we head into the release of next year's summer title. As to what kind of information we would be getting as of the time of when they posted that, we didn't really necessarily know. Their announcement was just pretty much like, expect to hear from me soon and heading into the future. In fact, in the official Japanese tweet, which was not mentioned in the North American tweet, they actually make mention of like, this is gonna be a pretty long road, so basically strap in and just let's wait it out. You know, I'm gonna provide you information, but let's just get ready because this is gonna be a long while. That's at the very least the presentation that they use in the Japanese tweet, where in the North American one, it was a little bit different. The North American simply read, "Hello, this is Suzuki, director of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I'll be taking over from director Ichinose for the next stage of Monster Hunter Rise development and is currently underway. So I'll be periodically here to share more about Sunbreak. Please look forward to it." Nothing about a long roadmap or a long road to the next summer or anything along those lines. I guess they just don't want people to think about the fact that they pretty much revealed this almost a year ahead of actual release. So, you know, it's understandable, but, you know, it would have been great to have that little bit of transparency. I personally thought we would probably end up getting updates maybe every couple of weeks, maybe even just once a month, because again, that roadmap is going to be pretty long. But actually, just earlier this week, they went ahead and posted a little bit of tidbit and brand new information that we didn't necessarily know, but is always good to think about. They say, "Hello everyone, today I've brought you some concept illustrations for a flagship monster, Malzeno. We started on a general concept and narrowed down the direction title little by little. Note that his final design looks quite different." And they went ahead and basically provided two images pretty much of like art, of concept art, essentially showcasing what the ideas were perhaps originally or how he's actually supposed to look in the game. But we actually, like they mentioned directly, he actually looks very different. Now, interestingly enough, of course, we haven't actually seen him in gameplay yet. We've only seen the renderings through, you know, they're in-game cutscenes essentially for Monster Hunter Rise, so presumably in Sunbreak is going to be no different. So that's not actual gameplay what we saw. It's just, you know, them moving the camera around and, you know, making a trailer out of that, but that's not necessarily in-game actual direct movement. It's all pretty choreographed, so that's understandable. But I would definitely love to be able to see him just running in-game, and presumably we will once we actually start to see some of that and actually see maybe obviously that area as well, because they just showcase a little bit of like the castle, the rundown castle, but we don't actually get a feel of what the rest of the area actually looks like. If the map is anything to go by, similar to Monster Hunter Rise maps, we know that's just one section of the map. And there has to be other key areas surrounding that area as well, pretty much to surround it and make it seem important. Remember that almost every single map in Monster Hunter Rise has maybe 3 to 4 distinct zones, and they complement each other rather well. Another thing that I did see in one of the Japanese tweets mentioned is that they always use, and again, this might be a translation thing, this might be just because of the Japanese audience having a different, you know, reaction to certain phrases, certain wordings, and the marketing here in North America is just different. That's just the realistic situation of it. In Europe and North America, they see marketing, Japanese companies specifically, as something completely different, that they cannot just show the same thing that they do in Japan, and we're going to be interested in that. They definitely need to show, at least at the very least, they think they need to show us action and, you know, heavy, you know, blood scenes and stuff like that in order for like people in North America and Europe to be interested, where in Japan things can be a little bit more, you know, smooth and flow and actually just show you like a peaceful area, and people are not going to be like boring and the chat is going to be annoyed and, you know, people are just going to tune out. They usually wait, you know, and are more patient as to what the trailer is actually showcasing. We're here in North America. Presumably, publishers think that we just want action, when it's not necessarily the case all the time. But interestingly enough, in the Japanese tweet that they put out, they do keep mentioning like resuscitating monsters from the Monster Hunter catalog, I presume, as something that you could probably end up calling it. Essentially monsters that have existed in other previous parts of the games, but we haven't necessarily seen for a while. But it's interesting that they keep using the word resuscitate for some reason. Again, it might be a translation thing. I'm not necessarily sure why, but they keep using specifically that word. I've seen it used maybe in about 4 to 5 different tweets. And I don't know why they keep using that. A lot of people have theorized that Malzeno himself might be some vampiric type monster, you know, drains your health type of thing and all of that stuff that we saw in Monster Hunter World. So that might actually, in the Rotten Vel, I think that was the pretty key thing in the feature in that area. So maybe that's something that this, you know, this expansion is going to look into, bringing some of those elements from World into Rise. Perhaps that might actually be the case. But I do just find that interesting of the wording. Like, that's just what I find fascinating, that they keep using the word resuscitate. So again, might be a translation thing, but when they show like Shogun Senator, I don't necessarily think like he has a vampiric version. Although if they do end up doing deviants, or if they end up doing like subspecies and stuff like that, then this is an entirely different conversation, you know, because then they could actually bring in more things and more elements, obviously from the modern games, to older monsters that didn't necessarily have those features or those options back in the day. And obviously then just begs the question, how many of those Monster Hunter World Iceborne expansion monsters that definitely had some of that draining health ability can be brought over to Rise's Sunbreak eventually, or, you know, even as part of the launch package? Which also, I guess, begs the question, you know, what the roadmap for them they're looking once the game is actually completely out. You know, are we going to have one of those like, hey, in a couple of months we'll be dropping a couple of more monsters, there'll be a 2.0, a 3.0, 4.0 version? We don't even have any vague idea as to what that'll possibly be as of this point in time. So, you know, it's interesting to see what the roadmap is going to be looking forward, not just as they present new information for the game, pretty much gives us tidbits of information, which is something I've talked about already. I do think it's going to be a pretty long road for them to just, you know, drizzle fact, essentially just little tidbits of information until we eventually get some sort of Capcom presentation again, maybe in December, maybe in January, as they begin to ramp it up heading into the summer. But as of right now, it's just anyone's guess. But that's all the information that I have for you guys today. Hopefully they're going to keep doing these, maybe weekly, maybe bi-weekly. That would be interesting to see. And definitely when they do provide us with information, I will definitely do my best to cover it as best as possible. You guys know that I'm pretty still big on Monster Hunter Rise, at the very least on the Nintendo Switch. That PC build, I'm not sure. I'm a little weary on it. Maybe once the game launches, I'll feel a little bit different. I'm still going to try it out. I'm definitely going to buy it. Try to cover it as best as possible, but still on the Nintendo Switch, I feel like that's still just going to be my home, because there's just so many people that I know play there, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!